detail on Nathan Walls. I mentioned at that Project Domino meeting a while
Yes.
back.
Yeah. Something like it. I've never done it. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You can edit video in Photoshop. A lot of people don't do that too. They can edit Photoshop.
Yeah, well, that wasn't up to me.
What up, Nathan?
How's it going, Jeff? I'm not recording right now. I'm just snapping
fine.
pictures.
Red light camera.
We're still on for dinner, right?
Me and you. All right, for those of you with cell phones, please mute them. I have to remember to do that myself this morning. All right, good morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm Kevin Arata, the City of Fayetteville's Corporate Communications Director, and on behalf of the Mayor, Mr. Nat Robertson, and the City Manager, Mr. Ted Voorhees, we welcome you to this morning's press conference on the use of the red light cameras. Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming. The use of red light cameras was an initiative from the Fayetteville Cumberland Liaison Committee in 2014. On April 22nd of 2014, the Board of Commissioners signed a resolution asking the state delegation to approve local legislation revising the city's authorization to operate red light cameras and to allow them to recoup expenses from the fines, with the proceeds going to the Board of Education. The bill was approved in 2014, in July of 2014. This morning I have with me Mr. Lee Jernigan, the Interim Director of Engineering and Infrastructure for the city, and Assistant Chief Anthony Kelly from the city's police department. Both of these gentlemen will make some short remarks regarding the use of red light cameras in the city, and we'll then take your questions. And also with me to answer questions, should they arise, is Dr. Frank Till over to the side, who will come up here with us, the Cumberland County School Superintendent, who can answer questions regarding the Board of Education's use of proceeds from the fines. And we also have Mr. Charles Torito from American Traffic Solutions to answer questions from the administration of the red light perspective. I'd ask that once our remarks are concluded and we begin to take questions, that you identify yourself so he knows the organizations, the outlets that are asking questions, and that you limit yourself to one question and a follow-up so that we can get around everybody, and we'll come back to you again, I promise. We're here to answer as many questions as we possibly can. The goal is, of course, to get this system out to the city, make sure that they know what's going on with it, and publicize this as best we can. So we will answer all of the questions that you have. I would ask to, and you see Nathan over in the corner here, he'll have a mic with you. We are being live broadcast on Fayetteville TV 7, and we'll play rebroadcast on that channel as well. So just use the mic when you answer the question or ask the question, just so we can hear it out in the audience as well. So without further ado, Lee.
Good morning. Thank you, Kevin. As Kevin mentioned, I am Lee Jernigan. I'm the Interim Director of Engineering and Infrastructure here with the City of Fayetteville. And I'm pleased to be here this morning to announce our city's activation of the Red Light Camera Photo Enforcement Program. The city began this program in cooperation with our engineering and our traffic services staff, our police department, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, the Cumberland County School System, and our vendor, American Traffic Solutions. The program will implement a strategy intended to reduce red light running around our city and make our city intersections safer. Red light running increases the potential for T-bone type accidents, which typically result in more severe injuries and can even result in fatalities. Today we are activating 4 cameras at 3 intersections. Those intersections are Riley Road at Kemridge Drive, Skybow Road at Morganton Road, and Ramsey Street and Law Road. We are also scheduling the installation of 5 additional cameras in the next couple of months. As those get a little closer to activation, we'll provide additional notice to the public and the media. Although we are only planning these cameras at 3 intersections today, we're hoping this program will resonate throughout the city to raise awareness of the seriousness of red light running violations. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Good morning. I'm Assistant Chief Anthony Kelly with the Fayetteville Police Department. Like Mr. Jernigan said, the police department is excited about having this force multiplier within the city to help us save lives, and that's our number one goal, to save lives and to deter bad driving. And with these red light cameras, it would allow people to be able to develop better driving habits in the city of Fayetteville, so that helps us save lives. So we're excited about having these cameras and look forward to having more cameras in the area to again help us save lives. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you both. And Mr. Cerrito and Dr. Hill, if I could ask you to come up. And with that, Nathan, if you're prepared to come over with the mic, we will start with questions from the media. Who will be first? Ma'am.
I'm Nancy McCleary from the Fayetteville Observer. My question is, how did you select these particular intersections? Was it based on traffic volume or the number of red light involved accidents or just high visibility?
Yes, ma'am. Early in the process, we developed a team consisting of members from all the folks standing here as well as NCDOT. We used that team in order to determine possible locations to investigate, to see if the cameras could be installed there. As a part of that, our vendor, one of the technologies they used that was very important to us was a model to predict violations at a particular intersection. So with all that data, we came up with a list, and then it was slimmed down based on constructability issues at each particular intersection. Obviously, one of those factors that we used was locations that the cameras had been installed previously, because at that time in our previous program we didn't see a significant reduction in the amount of violations that were issued, so we also used that as a factor. So based on all that, a final determination was based on the constructability, and that's how we ended up with our locations.
Jeff Thompson at WIDU. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 10 years ago, we had about 7 or 8 cameras. The city's grown a lot since then. The traffic issues have grown significantly since then. Will there be any additional cameras beyond those that you now plan?
Well, initially we're setting this program up for 10 cameras. We're activating 4 of those today at 3 intersections. We'll be expanding it, like as I mentioned, in a couple of months at 5 more intersections, which will be a total of 6 cameras. So a couple of intersections have multiple cameras installed. That's why you have the difference in numbers.
Let me be clear, how many intersections?
There will be 8 intersections.
10 cameras.
10 cameras, yes, sir. As we begin this program, we're absolutely going to be looking to see if there's any expansion that may be available to us, and we'll be working directly with our vendor to see if there's additional locations that can be installed.
Part 2 to the question. Have you given any thought to dummy cameras that might be placed around town to help deter red light violators?
I can speak for myself, and the answer to that would be no. We want to protect the integrity of this program, and we want to make sure that the public is aware and we're accurately issuing citations.
Okay, Nicole.
Hey there. Nicole Carr with ABC 11. Can you talk about the affordability of the program this go-round versus the last time? I know the ticket fines, there's a difference in how much they were in 2007 versus today. So can you address that?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Previously, there was some legislation in place that required the proceeds to be ultimately donated to the school system, so that compromised or put the jurisdictions in a position where it was difficult to fund the program itself. The current legislation allows for the proceeds beyond the cost of the program to go to the school system, so that allows us to be able to fund the program purely through the violators paying the citations themselves.
Any other questions? They can, as soon as the media are done, sir, we'll allow you to ask questions, absolutely. Go ahead, ma'am.
This is my follow. How much is this cost? How much does this cost?
Well, the cost to the violator is $100 per citation. The vendor is paid $35 per paid citation, not per issued citation. So once the violator has paid their portion or paid their $100 fee, at that time the vendor would receive the payment that's due to them.
Have you been able to determine how much proceeds the school system might benefit from?
That'll be dependent upon the amount of violations that are paid. I'm not sure the amount of proceeds it will generate. Ultimately, we want to reduce the amount of violations, but until we get the program started, it's difficult to say with certainty how many that'll be.
The total. It's not on. I don't think.
It is.
Oh, is it the total cost of the program? Overall cost. How much for each? How much for these cameras? What's the total cost involved?
The cost is based on as I mentioned, per paid citation. There's no initial setup cost. The only amounts that go to the vendor are on that per paid citation.
Sure, yeah. We install the cameras, we maintain the cameras, we help administer the program, all for that $35 per paid violation cost. There are no upfront costs to the city of Fayetteville for this program. And like all of the programs that we work with cities on and partner with cities on nationwide, this will be 100% funded by individuals who run red lights. If there's no red light running, there will be no revenue from this program. That's something that we, a risk we're prepared to take as a vendor, and it's I think something that the city and the school district recognizes as well. This program is not about generating revenue, but I will say that if this program is able to prevent one fatality, it'll be worth its weight in gold.
Why don't you share, too, what we talked about beforehand, a little about the administration of the program and how it worked across the other cities as well?
Sure. My name's Charles Torito, American Traffic Solutions. T as in Tom, ERRITO. Sure. The way the cameras will work is that they're obviously mounted on poles. Unlike the previous program where the detection technology was embedded in the road, this will use a 3D tracking radar technology that will track the vehicles through the intersection. There are no right-hand turn violations being issued from these cameras. The only events that will be captured will be events that occur when an individual runs straight through a red light. Once the violation's captured, it will be reviewed and issued, and then whoever the registered owner of the vehicle in question will be able to choose whether or not to pay the violation or to challenge the violation. As long as they do so within the 30-day period after the violation's issued, they'll have every right to contest a violation just like any other violation that they receive.
Good morning. Nate, WNCN. Quick question. Is there anybody from the city available just to talk about stats in terms of numbers this year or maybe last year, the number of traffic accidents we can attribute to folks going through red light cameras? Or folks going through the red light, I'm sorry.
We can get those numbers, but I don't have those with us right now.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Good morning, sir. My name is Jerry Reinhold, and the question that I have is one of the perpetual issues that we've had in the city, and that's economic development and jobs. And my question is, are there any local jobs that are being afforded as a result of the installation, local hires, or is the staffing all from out of town?
Sure,
Thank you.
Mr. Torito can address that. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've worked with a local contractor here to have all of the cameras installed. They'll continue to be working with us throughout the process for any additional installations. Also, the local office, we'll have a local office here for individuals to pay their violations and where the initial violation review will occur. And that will be staffed by local individuals as well. Nate, I don't have the address of the office, but we expect it to be open the first week in August, I believe. 200 Dick Street is where the office will be for individuals who receive a violation to walk in and pay the violation. And so, to answer your question, absolutely. The city of Fayetteville, as part of their RFP, ensured that there would be local staffing included in this program and that there would be some element of economic development. And so we're excited about that. We think that having members of the community involved in the program is important, and we'll probably have an announcement in early August when that walk-in payment office opens up.
Sure. Follow-up question. So let's just talk about what you need to know, what residents need to know. $100 for the first violation. What's the time frame, if you will, when the ticket has to be paid? In addition to that, does the fee double? That kind of stuff. Just give me some quick points that we can give to.
Sure. You have, well, somebody in the city want to take that, or should I take it? Sure. You'll have 30 days from the date that the violation is issued to pay a violation. There will be multiple ways to pay a violation. You'll be able, as I said, to use a walk-in payment. We'll have a payment option where you can call a number and pay. We'll also have the ability to pay online. With each violation, the person that receives the violation will be given a secure violation number and a PIN number, where they'll be able to log on to a website, it's violationinfo.com, and they'll be able to view not only still images of the violation, their car both before the entering the intersection and the light being red, and then as it's in the center of the middle of the intersection with the light being red, but also a video of the violation as well. If after reviewing that video and after reviewing those still images, they decide to challenge the violation, as long as they do so within the first 30 days of the issuance period, there will be no additional charges. If after that, the fine doubles. It's an additional $100 if there's no action taken within the first 30 days after the violation's issued.
No, the subsequent violations would be issued independent of each other ones. Now, they would all be, have to be paid in accordance with that 30-day time frame, but there's not a expanding scale of payments. Each one of those violations will be looked upon independently. As Charles mentioned, you can appeal by executing the instructions on the citation form once you receive it. Mail that in. It will be reviewed by the vendor initially. If the violator would like to continue a contest of that violation, they can schedule a hearing with an adjudicator, a third-party adjudicator that is not an employee of the city or the vendor, and there will actually be a face-to-face hearing set up, and the violator can come plead their case.
To expand on Nancy's question, does any of this reflect on driver's license violations? Does it end up in court at all, or?
This is totally a civil penalty. There are no driver's license or insurance points associated with it. It's not a criminal offense. And Chief, if you would like to expand on that, I'll be glad to let you do so, but it's total civil offense.
No, sir, that's a civil matter. We don't force civil law, so it's basically the financial aspect.
What if a guy starts through the intersection, realizes, oh, geez, and slams on brakes, but he's already tripped the beam? Can he appeal and that will be forgiven?
Yeah, you know,
Traffic never get it to start with.
right, they never get a violation to start with. There's a very long process, which we've worked with the city on to help develop the rules by which a violation should be captured, or an event should be captured. And the city has been very conservative in the approach they've taken as to what consists of a red light safety camera violation in the city of Fayetteville. Each violation is reviewed and approved, or reviewed multiple times, and there's a certain set of criteria that must be met. What you've just talked about is what's called a hard stop. A hard stop is when a vehicle begins to enter the intersection, or technically crosses the line, but is able to stop before proceeding through the intersection. And in those cases, a violation would not be issued. You know, it's important to note there's there's oftentimes people say, well, I was in the middle of an intersection and I received a violation, or the light turned yellow while I entered the intersection and the light was yellow, but then while I was in the intersection and it turned red and I got a violation. In those instances, no violation would be captured by the red light safety cameras in use here in Fayetteville. A violation can only be issued when a vehicle enters the intersection after the light has turned red. And I think that's a very important distinction. There are no violations issued for vehicles that enter the intersection while the light is yellow, or at any time a vehicle has entered an intersection during the yellow phase. A violation can only be issued when a vehicle enters the intersection after the light has turned red.
Seemed pretty clear cut. What more does the city want from you to verify that it was a violation?
Well, there are any number of different events that can occur that maybe there was we'll have video with all of these cameras. Maybe there was an ambulance coming and the vehicle had no choice but to run through the red light. Maybe there was a police vehicle behind them. Maybe there was a pedestrian that entered the intersection, and in order to avoid something, a vehicle had to swerve, and it caused them to enter the intersection. There are any number of things that can occur that might not constitute a violation under the law. Yeah.
Another question. So understood that there was no upfront cost for the city. Give us a sense of what your company had to do in terms of hiring crews, in terms of installation. I just need a dollar amount of how much this costs you all to put this together.
You know, it really varies by location. It varies by equipment. It varies by the length of time it may take to get a program activated. But typically an installation for us costs between $75,000 and $100,000 when you take into account all of the road construction that has to occur in order to get power to the site, when you take into account the cost of the cameras and the technology. These aren't cameras these aren't GoPro cameras that you buy at a Best Buy. These are very sophisticated cameras that are purpose-built for this particular type of enforcement.
So it's safe to say with the cameras that are already in place now that are active today, $100,000 went into that, or does that $100,000 go for the total 10 cameras for the entire?
No, per location, per approach. Yeah. Yeah, per approach. It's about $100,000 per approach. Mm-hmm. It will. And we intend to work with the city of Fayetteville as long as we need to in order to help ensure that their red light running problem is adequately addressed.
Your enforcement, then clearly it will be very aggressive.
I wouldn't say it will be aggressive. I think you pretty much said it's cut and dry. Most of the time, you either run a red light or you don't. And we'll have both video and still images that will provide the evidence necessary to enforce a violation under the North Carolina law. The cameras that we'll be using are 29 megapixel cameras. They are very clear, and we'll be able to see the license plates. The flashes that we're using will allow violations to be enforced 24 hours a day.
Would police have access to them in the event of a crime that might occur and they have reason to believe maybe a vehicle went through there?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's one of the benefits of this technology. Not only would the still images be available, but the video would be available as well. And I think that's something that the police intend to rely on here for investigations. And it's something that we do nearly 250 times a week. Our video from our cameras around the country is used by law enforcement for investigations into other crimes. There was a video that went viral just a few weeks ago from Tucson, Arizona, where one of our cameras captured an escape, or a vehicle had been stopped. The vehicle tried to drive away. It went through an intersection. There was a collision at the intersection, a very violent red light running collision at the intersection. The police were in chase and there was a shootout that occurred. All of it was captured on video. We were able to provide that video to law enforcement within about 3 hours of it happening, and they were able to use that video in their investigation. And that's just one example. Every single day, our cameras are used for law enforcement support purposes. We're headquartered in Tempe, Arizona, and we have contracts with nearly 300 cities nationwide, including New York, Chicago, Seattle, Washington, D.C., and actually Wilmington, North Carolina as well.
What we're going to do with the funds we receive them, we're going to treat them as one-time funds because you can see it going up and down, and based on where we are, we'll do some things for students, maybe around technology or something that there's no reoccurring cost to it. But I mean, we certainly want the community to be safe, so we're not counting on big dollars. But if it comes in, it means that the community's not safe, and so we use it for our children in one-time expenses.
Any other questions out there?
I got one.
Sure.
On pipe for you guys, the yellow light durations, okay? You using North Carolina Department of Transportation's recommendations for the shortest available yellow light duration, or are we using international standards? What standard can we expect? What I really would like to know is, do we expect the duration to be 3.5 seconds one day and another day 4 seconds, and then back to 3.5, variable, or is it going to be constant, steady within?
To answer your question, it'll be exactly the same every cycle, every day. Part of our team, as I mentioned earlier, to select these locations, and this goes back for months, since we've been developing this program, was the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and it was vital to us to ensure all 3 of these intersections are owned by NCDOT. Actually, all 8 of them are owned by DOT. So it was vital to us to make sure that the locations were reviewed and all the signals were operating in accordance with DOT's design guidelines. So every one of these locations have been reviewed by NCDOT to ensure that the signal plan operation is in accordance with their guidelines. Our staff has also verified that those times are entered into the signal. Personally, I've verified them myself, and so those times will operate until DOT decides to reinvestigate, but they'll operate on every yellow, every cycle, every day.
Right. The one other concern they have with the other companies that install these cameras, you've already hit on it pretty much. You said no right-hand turns are going to be, what about the left-hand turn?
Yes, sir. We didn't address that, but specifically, every one of these camera approaches that'll be monitored are straight through movements. Excuse me. We did not want to focus on any left-hand turning or any right-hand turning movements. For that reason, in addition to the fact that typically a violation in a straight-through movement is normally speeding or is blatantly intending to run the red light, which can create a more severe accident type. So we have focused this program solely on straight-through movements.
It sounds like this setup is a lot more friendly to the commuter than the last traffic light setup.
Well, as Charles mentioned earlier, we've worked really hard to set up the integrity of this program and to the intention of making our community safer.
The only other point I got is you already said
Yes, sir. That is the intention of the rules that we've set this program up by in very close coordination with the vendor. Those violations should never be issued. In the event that one is, again, we have multiple layers of an appeal process where the violator can bring that to the vendor's attention, and hopefully that violation will be taken care of.
Mayor, looks like all my complaining paid off.
One last question, is there anybody from the school district or the district or the city received prior years when this was in effect?
I don't know that we have that.
We can produce some information on the amount of tickets that were issued and general information.
Like per year, or just to say, we made X amount of dollars in 2007 when this was in effect?
We can research that information, see what we can provide. Again, that's roughly 10 years ago. We'll see what information we can provide. We might have like a total revenue amount that, or total fine revenue that was generated, number of tickets per month type information. We'll be glad to provide that to you.
Our cameras?
You are. The cameras?
The
up
red
there?
light,
No.
yes, are they live right now?
We'll be live at noon. We are live on Facebook.
I'm like, yeah, okay, they're live when we're live at noon. Okay, thank you.
So at noon.
Touch on the grace period, Kevin. You want to touch on the grace period about?
Yeah, there is a grace period for 1 week, so the cameras, when they go live today, or practicing, if you will, so they, on the 8th?
Yes.
Is that right? The 8th of July at noon is when the tickets will begin to be issued after that. So on the 8th of July at noon, a week from today, is when tickets will actually be issued. So this 1 week is a grace period, if you will. So it's a test of the system to make sure everything's operating the way it should be.
And throughout the week, you may pass one of these sites and you may see lights flashing. You may get calls from individuals in the community saying, these cameras are flashing at everything. And that's probably true. Over the next couple of days, there will be a number of system tests that are run. The cameras will begin learning the intersections. The cameras will begin recognizing some of the distinct characteristics of each intersection, and that may cause them to fire. We'll also do a certain amount of remote testing as well, and remote maintenance, and so we may fire them ourselves just to make sure that all of those systems are in place. But on July 8th, at noon, you can expect that live violations, live citations will begin to be issued here in the city of Fayetteville. Yeah, and any violations that are captured over the next few days, warnings will be sent to the drivers of those vehicles. They won't be required to pay any money, but they may receive a warning in the mail that informs them that they ran a red light.
Okay, so just to be clear, the first week until next Monday, July 8th, is just a test run, if you will. Those folks that have gone through the light will receive a warning.
Yeah.
Then after that, the tickets will start.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Right. But because the cameras are operational, because people will start seeing, flashes today, and maybe have already as they've been turned on, I think the city wanted to make sure everyone knew that the cameras were now live and that the program was starting. Yeah, as additional cameras are installed, that 7-day grace period will be in effect for those as well, and the city will notify the public of that also.
And that second launch date, is that still in September?
Yeah, we're shooting for the early part of September, I think, we're hoping.
Okay. Just want to confirm, Skybo at Morganton, Ramsey at Law, and Riley at
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
Drive.
Okay. Oh, it's in front of me. Thank you.
All right, any other questions out there? All right, so if there are no other questions, as Nicole asked before, the cameras do go live at noon, so we've done this early enough so that if you want to go out there, you certainly can. We encourage that. The idea here is transparency. The idea here is to let people know what's going on. As Jeff Thompson's asked before, this is about saving our citizens and saving lives, and it's about safety. It's not about raising money. It's about making sure that our citizens are safe. So we've tried to do this best we can. The city has worked extensively with the vendor to make sure we do this right, to make sure we do this accurately, and to make sure we do this well. So we will do that, and we'll look to do something like this again when the next set of lights are done. Perhaps we can come back and talk about lessons learned and what we've seen in that time, and share those observations with you, and certainly provide some more information as the September timeframe approaches for the next set of lights. So if there are no other questions, thank you again for your time. We encourage you to go out there and let folks know that this is starting today. Thank you.